The room spun. My vision blurred. The impossible weight of the tray of drinks in my hands, then darkness. I remember the roar in my ears, the metallic tang of fear, and the last, desperate lunge for the edge of the bar. What I didn't know was that while I lay unconscious on a grimy New York City floor, my parents were funneling thousands of dollars to my sister every single month, so she could live a life of comfort and luxury. The sterile scent of disinfectant stung my nostrils as I blinked awake, fluorescent lights harsh above me. And four dripped steadily into my arm, a rhythmic hiss that mirrored the confusion in my head. My manager, his face etched with worry, leaned over me. This was the moment I realized my desperation had driven me to the brink. This was rock bottom. My name is Leo Maxwell, and I'm 19 years old. I had recently started studying medicine in New York City, a dream I'd pursued with every fiber of my being. I'm originally from Texas, from a world where my father, Arthur, was a renowned surgeon at a university hospital, and my mother, Patricia, meticulously managed our upscale home. 4 months ago, I moved here, ready to tackle the challenge of medical school, inspired by my dad. But the traditional college experience of making friends, joining clubs, and having fun? That was a distant fantasy. Money was tighter than I'd ever imagined. My parents covered my tuition, yes, but every other bill, rent, food, transportation, books, was my responsibility. To make ends meet, I became a human chameleon, juggling a string of exhausting jobs, tutoring, event staffing, bartending. Even with these, keeping my head above water was a daily battle. I was constantly shifting jobs to fit my punishing schedule, working primarily on weekends, trading sleep for survival. Psychologically and physically, it was brutal. I'd fall asleep in classes, my textbooks a blurry mess after late-night shifts. The motivation to study, to even think, was a constant struggle. I was terrified I'd slip too far behind, that I'd have to redo the year, jeopardizing everything. If things continued, I knew I wouldn't be able to concentrate on my studies, which were supposed to be my absolute priority. Anxious, desperate, and utterly spent, I swallowed my pride and called my mother. My father, with his demanding career, was rarely home, so Patricia handled all the family finances. I explained my situation, pleading for any financial assistance, even a small amount. Her response was immediate, chillingly calm. Leo, your father earns a fair living, yes, but we simply don't have any extra money. Paying for your tuition is already a significant strain. We can't send you anything further. The receiver felt like a lead weight in my hand. I felt stuck. Most of my friends living alone received some form of parental support, and I envied their ease. But I resolved to push harder. To earn my way. Growing up, there was always a glaring disparity between myself and my older sister, Chloe. She's 21, currently studying fashion design at a prominent school in Paris. While I was always expected to work tooth and nail for my achievements, Chloe seemed to glide through life. Mom always called her my golden sister, the one with a special touch, destined for greatness. Don't get me wrong, I love Chloe, but the difference in how we were treated was difficult to overlook. When we were younger, between ages 10 and 12, I'd bring home a report card filled with straight A's. Mom would glance at it and say, "That's what we expect from you, Leo." The same day, Chloe would bring home mostly B's with a couple of C's, and Mom would throw her a small celebration, praising her artistic mind and stating academics weren't her thing. Dad always seemed uneasy with this blatant favoritism, but he never actually said anything about it. My first semester had ended badly. I hadn't studied enough for my midterm exams and had to retake them in August. My plan was to work as many jobs as possible during the long summer break, save every penny, and then cut down on work shifts once the fall semester began, devoting more time to my studies. This meant reducing my living expenses to an absolute minimum. Instant noodles, stale bread, and discounted pre-made meals became my diet. I rode my bike everywhere, rain or shine, to save on transportation. I, who had grown up in a wealthy home, never once worrying about money, was now living in a state of poverty I never anticipated. Despite the constant grind, I managed to communicate sporadically with a college friend via text. I occasionally checked Chloe's Instagram. Her account was a dizzying display of trendy Parisian cafes, exclusive fashion shows, and weekend trips to Monaco and Milan. Each photo seemed to highlight a new designer outfit or accessory. I tried not to be bitter, but it was difficult to see her living so lavishly while I was saving pennies for ramen. One post, in particular, stung. It featured Chloe at a rooftop party overlooking the Eiffel Tower, wearing what she described as a new Dior dress. The caption read, "Mom always knows exactly what I need. What a blessed life. Hashtag Gucci, hashtag Paris." I stared at that message for a long time, a dull ache forming in my chest. How could my parents afford to send her fancy items when they claimed they didn't have any money? The cheerful images amplified my sadness, highlighting the vast disparity in our student lives. My friends frequently invited me out, but I always had to decline. No time, no money. "I'll drive. Let's go somewhere cheap," one of my classmates texted. "Nah," I replied. "I'm working all week. Plus, I'm heading back home for the holidays, so I won't be around anyway." "Are you sure you're okay, Leo?" My friend texted back, genuine concern in his words. "You always seem tired in class, and I think you're working too much." "I've got the physical stamina, and I need to earn my living expenses," I lied, trying to sound nonchalant. "Let's meet up once school starts again." With that, I went to the bar where I worked, trying to push away the unsettling thoughts. It was a busy Friday, a whirlwind of customers and drink orders. I felt dizzy while carrying a tray of beverages. The room spun. The tray impossibly heavy. The last thing I remember was reaching for the edge of the bar to steady myself. Then, nothing. When I awoke, I was in a hospital. The doctor informed me that I had collapsed due to exhaustion and malnutrition. Intravenous fluids, a gentle warning, and then I was discharged the following day. I quickly contacted my supervisor at the bar to apologize. He was surprisingly kind. "Leo, once you fainted, I called your name, but you were too out of it to answer. So I immediately called an ambulance. I also contacted your folks." My heart sank. "You've been taking a lot of shifts, and I relied too much on that," he continued. "Sorry about that. I want you to rest easy for the rest of the month." That meant a massive reduction in my income. Riding the metro home, my body still weak, I considered taking on even more tutoring jobs. I felt utterly lost. I had the next day off from the bar, so I chose to stay in bed and recuperate. Checking my phone, I discovered a message from my college friend that I had missed while unconscious. I replied, explaining my absence. He agreed to visit. He went grocery shopping and prepared a simple pasta dinner. While enjoying the first home-cooked meal I'd had in months, we discussed the costs of living alone. My friend was startled when I revealed that I didn't receive any financial support from home. "That's why you've been working so hard," he exclaimed. "Your dad's a surgeon. You should be getting some help." I asked Mom, and she said they're barely managing with just my tuition, I responded, tiredly. "Really? But you're not an only child, right? You have a sister in Paris. How is she able to afford to study abroad if money is so tight?" I paused. I hadn't thought about that. "I don't know," I admitted. Mom always handled Chloe's expenses separately. Said she had a special arrangement for her. "No way," my buddy said, shaking his head. "That doesn't make sense. I hate to say this, but maybe there's something going on that you don't know about." His words burrowed into my mind. My father, a top surgeon, drove a luxury car. Our house was in an elite neighborhood, and I'd always attended private schools. Why would Mom suddenly declare they had no money for me, yet Chloe appeared to be living like a princess in Paris? Something did not add up. I remembered a conversation my parents had years ago. Dad had questioned Mom about why my summer science camp was canceled, but Chloe was assigned to an expensive art program in Europe. Mom had mentioned investing in her eldest's future and that I was more practical and would want to stay at home. Dad appeared frustrated, but eventually gave in, as he always did when it came to Mom's decisions about us kids. I grew worried. I quickly texted my mother, "Are you both okay?" She responded after a while, "We're fine." But I couldn't relax that night. Curiosity, a burning ember now, got the best of me. I called Chloe personally, which I rarely did because we weren't very close. "Leo, what's wrong?" You never call, she said, clearly astonished. Just checking in, I tried to sound casual. How's Paris treating you? Amazing as always. Mom just sent me the cutest Chanel bag for my birthday next month. She's always so thoughtful with her gifts. My stomach sank. Oh, that's nice. Hey, I was wondering how you're managing financially over there. Paris must be expensive. Oh, I don't worry about that stuff. Mom transfers me about $3,000 a month for expenses, plus extra whenever I need something special. You know how she is with me. I felt as if I had been punched. $3,000. Every month. When I was told there wasn't a single dollar left over for me, I hurriedly ended the call, citing a need to study. I had assumed they were merely claiming they didn't have money to keep me from worrying or to teach me independence. But this was a deliberate lie. Since I was going home for the holidays, I decided to discuss this with my parents in person. My friend, who'd helped me so much, said, "I'll be waiting for some souvenirs." I was grateful to have such a friend. The holiday season arrived. I booked the cheapest flight back home I could find, determined to confront them. I could only stay for one night and one day due to my work commitments, but I was looking forward to it. When I arrived, my folks met me at the door. My father looked astonished when he saw me. "Leo, you've lost a lot of weight." Really? I hadn't realized how much I'd changed, how visible my struggle was. My mother was also taken aback, her usual cheerful demeanor momentarily silenced. Patricia had cooked chicken wings, salad, and soup for lunch. For the first time in a long time, the three of us gathered at the table. As soon as we sat down, my father looked concerned. "You look thinner. Are you eating properly?" I told him the truth, a bitter taste in my mouth. "Not really. It's been a while since I had such a luxurious meal." "What do you usually eat?" my father asked, his brow furrowed. "Instant noodles, bread, and sometimes discounted pre-packed meals." "What about the cafeteria food?" he inquired. "The cafeteria is too expensive for me." "Is it that expensive?" "It's around $5. My father seemed surprised. "Is the money I've been sending enough for you?" I was confused. "I haven't been getting any money." My father's fork clattered to his plate. "What do you mean?" "So, you haven't received any money for the past 4 months." "I haven't received any." "Have you really been sending money?" "I asked your mom to transfer $2,000 every month into your account." "Really?" I was astonished. "Mom told me that your finances were tight and that she couldn't afford to send any money." "Tight? Patricia, we have enough money. What's happening?" Dad's voice, normally so calm, was rising now. "Mom, Patricia, have you been sending money to Leo like you're supposed to?" Patricia looked down at her plate, saying nothing. I began to worry. Maybe Dad got sick and couldn't work. "No. I've been working as usual," Dad replied, almost to himself. "That's good to hear," I answered, feeling a flicker of hope. "But then why didn't I get any money? And how is Chloe affording to live in Paris if money is so tight?" "What do you mean? What about Chloe?" Dad was even more perplexed. "What's going on?" he demanded again. Patricia remained silent, refusing to look at either of us. "Please, don't be quiet. Could you explain?" Dad begged. Finally, Mom said softly, "I haven't sent any money to Leo." "What?" My father and I both erupted. "Why not?" Dad asked, utterly flabbergasted. "There are just too many things we need to pay for," Mom said, her voice small. "Isn't our home loan already paid off?" Dad insisted. Patricia realized she couldn't hide it any longer. She confessed. "I've been keeping the money for Chloe." I was shocked. "What do you mean, for Chloe?" "She needs it more than you do," Mom explained quietly. "She's studying fashion in Paris. It's expensive. She needs to look the part, make connections. I asked for some money, even a little, but you said you couldn't afford it. While you were sending Chloe $3,000 a month." Mom's head snapped up. "How do you know how much I sent her?" "There was a call from Leo's work recently, saying he collapsed from overwork," he said, his voice flat with disbelief. "And I noticed today how much weight you've lost." "What? Leo collapsed? What happened?" It appeared my father had never heard of this. "Yeah, but it wasn't serious," I said, trying to diffuse the rapidly escalating tension. "Huh? Why didn't you tell me?" Dad asked Mom, his voice rising, dangerous. I'm sorry. I was scared you'd find out I wasn't sending the money, my mother said. Wait, let me understand this. Dad responded, his voice tense with wrath. You've been withholding Leo's allowance, letting him struggle to the point of collapse, while secretly sending extra money to Chloe for what? Shopping sprees in Paris? It's not like that. Mom objected. Chloe has potential. She needs to maintain a certain image. You don't understand the fashion world. And Leo doesn't have potential? Dad asked incredulously. He's studying medicine. He's following in my footsteps. That's exactly it. Mom replied. He's exactly like you. He'll be fine. He doesn't need help. Chloe is special. She's delicate. She needs support. I couldn't believe what I heard. I had suspected partiality all my life, but hearing it expressed so harshly was like a stab to my heart. How much have you been giving her? Dad said, his voice dangerously low. Mom hesitated. $3,000 a month for living expenses and maybe a little extra sometimes. How much extra? Dad demanded. I don't know, maybe another $2,000 or $3,000 a month for networking events, proper clothes, accessories. Dad's face had turned pale. So, you've been diverting $5,000 or $6,000 a month to Chloe while Leo has been starving himself and working to the point of collapse? When you put it that way, it sounds bad, Mom replied defensively. But Chloe is building her career. She needs these things. And what has she been buying with all this money? Just things she needs, Mom said blankly. Like the Chanel bag you just bought her for her birthday next month, I said softly. Mom glanced at me with surprise. How did you? I called her. She told me everything. How you always make sure she has what she needs. How you send her extra whenever she wants something special. This is unbelievable, Dad remarked, shaking his head. Leo had to work until he collapsed because he didn't have any money, while his sister is parading around Paris with designer bags. Chloe has always been special, Mom remarked, raising her chin defensively. She needs more support. No, Dad replied forcefully. What she needs is a reality check. And so do you. He turned to face me. Leo, I'm so sorry. I had no idea this was happening. I thought you were receiving your allowance all along. It's okay, Dad. It's not okay, he interjected. None of this is okay. He turned back to face Mom. Patricia, from now on, I'll handle all the finances. I'll send money directly to Leo's account, and we're going to have a serious talk about Chloe's expenses. You can't do that, Mom insisted. Chloe needs, what Chloe needs, Dad interrupted her, is to learn the value of money. She's 21 years old, living like a celebrity on our dime while her brother nearly works himself to death. It stops now. The remainder of lunch was strained, silent. I picked at my dinner, suddenly not hungry after being ravenous moments before. Mom dabbed her eyes with her handkerchief, occasionally casting a glance my way, playing the victim. Dad sat rigid with rage, his jaw clenched so tightly I could see a muscle twitching in his face. I retreated to my room, overwhelmed. I could hear my parents bickering downstairs, their voices occasionally rising before settling into tense murmurs. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling of my childhood room, reflecting on all the years of subtle favoritism. Chloe received a car for her 16th birthday, while I was told I could save up for one. Her artwork was framed and prominently displayed throughout the house, whereas my academic achievements were considered routine. That summer, I wanted to go to a science camp but was informed it was too expensive, only to discover later that Chloe had been sent to a month-long art program in Italy that same summer. Everything was suddenly, painfully obvious. The pattern had always been there, but I had never realized how deep it ran. The financial discrepancy was only the most recent and dramatic manifestation of Mom's lifelong preferential treatment. Later that evening, Dad knocked at my door. Can I come in? I nodded, and he sat heavily on the edge of my bed. I want you to know how sorry I am, he told me, his voice thick with regret. I had no idea your mother was doing this. I thought you were getting your allowance, and I thought Chloe was on a much more modest budget. It's not your fault, Dad. It is, though. I should have been more involved in the finances. I trusted your mother to handle things fairly, and I was too busy with work to pay attention. He sighed heavily. I've already called Chloe. She was upset when I told her there would be changes. What kind of changes? I inquired. Her allowance is being reduced to $1,000 a month, the same amount you'll be getting from now on. Anything beyond that, she'll need to earn herself. She's not going to like that, I murmured, reflecting on my sister's accustomed lifestyle. No, she's not. But it's long overdue. He hesitated. There's something else you should know. Your mother, she hasn't just been favoring Chloe with money. She's been putting money aside for her future, too. Money that was supposed to be split between both of you. What do you mean? We have a family trust that's supposed to be divided equally between you and your sister when you both turn 25. Your mother has been diverting funds from it to set up a separate account in Chloe's name. I felt nauseous. How much? $300,000 so far. I couldn't even process the number. It was more money than I had ever imagined. I've frozen that account and initiated the process to return those funds to the family trust, Dad said. It will take some legal work, but it's the right thing to do. He ran his fingers through his graying hair, appearing older than I'd ever seen him. I keep thinking about how you collapsed at work, how you've been struggling all this time while I thought you were fine, while your mother let me believe you were fine. I didn't want to worry you, I explained. That's not your job, son. My job is to worry about you, to take care of you. His voice cracked slightly. And I failed at that. You didn't know, Dad? I should have known. I should have asked more questions, been more involved. He straightened his shoulders. But that changes now. From now on, I'm going to be much more present in your life and Chloe's, and I'm going to make sure things are fair between you two. That night, Chloe called me furious. What did you say to Dad? She questioned, without preamble. The truth, I answered simply. That I've been working multiple jobs and still can barely afford to eat, while you've been getting thousands of dollars a month. That's different, she exclaimed. I need that money. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to live in Paris? To dress appropriately for fashion school? Do you have any idea what it's like to collapse from exhaustion because you're working so many jobs you don't have time to eat or sleep properly? There was a pause. Is that really what happened? Yes, Chloe, that's really what happened. While you were buying Chanel bags, I was working 60-hour weeks on top of medical school and living on ramen noodles. Another prolonged silence. I didn't know. Would it have mattered if you did? She did not respond to that. Instead, she said, what am I supposed to do now? Dad says I'm only getting $1,000 a month from now on. I can't live on that. Welcome to the real world, I remarked, without showing pity. Get a job. Like I did. A job. I'm studying fashion design. I don't have time for a job. And I'm in medical school. Somehow I manage. She hung up on me. The next morning, tensions in the house reached an all-time high. Mom scarcely spoke, moving around the kitchen like a ghost. Dad kept attempting to engage me in conversation, as if making up for missed time. Your mother and I have been talking, he said finally. We need to make some changes. What kind of changes? I inquired, peering at Mom, who was staring intently into her coffee cup. For one thing, I'm taking control of the family finances, Dad stated firmly. And I'm going to be much more involved in both your lives from now on. Mom looked up. I still think you're being too harsh on Chloe. She needs what she needs. What Chloe needs, Dad said, is to learn the same lessons Leo has had to learn the hard way. Independence, responsibility, the value of hard work. She's different, Mom insisted. She's more sensitive. No, Dad replied forcefully. She's not different. She's just been treated differently by you. Mom went silent again. There's something else we need to discuss, Dad said, returning my gaze. Your mother and I were having problems. My heart fell. What kind of problems? This situation with the money, it brought to light some deeper issues. Your mother's favoritism toward Chloe has been going on for years, and I've allowed it. I didn't realize how extreme it had become. What are you saying? I inquired, even though I already knew. We're going to try counseling, Dad explained. But I want to be honest with you. I'm not sure our marriage can recover from this. The trust is broken. Mom looked up, her eyes becoming angry. You're blaming me for all of this? For wanting to give our daughter the best chance at success? I'm blaming you for lying to me, Dad said evenly. For stealing from our son. and for potentially emptying our retirement accounts to fund our daughter's shopping addiction. Yes. I traveled back to New York the next day, my brain reeling from what had happened. Dad had placed $5,000 back into my account to pay for the allowance I should have received, and he promised to make regular monthly contributions from now on. Focus on your studies, he advised me at the airport. That's what's important now. When I returned to my flat, I went grocery shopping right away. Real groceries, fresh vegetables, meat, and fruits, foods I hadn't been able to purchase in months. I made myself a good meal and sat down to eat it, savoring every bite. It was so simple, but it felt luxurious. With the financial strain relieved, I was able to reduce my work hours. I retained the tutoring job as I enjoyed it, but I cut my bar shifts to only weekends and quit event staffing altogether. Suddenly, I had time to study, to sleep, to care for myself. My grades started to improve almost immediately. Over the next few months, I observed from a distance as my family dynamics changed radically. Dad left the house and moved into a nearby apartment. Faced with a dramatically decreased budget, Chloe vowed to drop out of fashion school and return home in protest. But then, to everyone's surprise, she rose to the challenge. She got a part-time job at a small boutique in Paris and began living within her means. It's actually not that bad, she acknowledged to me during one of our now regular phone calls. My boss is teaching me a lot about the business side of fashion, and I kind of like earning my own money. Mom suffered the hardest with the adjustments. She ignored Dad's financial constraints and continued to send Chloe extra money in secret. When Dad discovered this, it was the last straw. He filed for divorce. The proceedings were messy. Mom disputed the divorce and attempted to claim half of Dad's assets and future income. But when Dad's lawyer provided evidence of her financial malfeasance, diverting family funds, emptying joint accounts to send money to Chloe, and continuously lying about it, the judge was unimpressed. The final settlement overwhelmingly benefited Dad. During this time, I focused on regaining my health and academic standing. With good nourishment and relaxation, I regained the weight I had lost and felt my energy returning. My professors noticed an increase in my work, and I was able to join the Pre-Med Student Association, which I had previously overlooked due to my busy schedule. Chloe and I started talking more regularly. Our chats were difficult at first, as we both struggled to navigate our new relationship without Mom's favoritism creating a chasm between us. But gradually, we discovered common ground. She told me about her position at the boutique, the customers she met, and her designs. I informed her about my coursework, my growing group of friends, and my future goals. I never realized how much Mom's favoritism affected you, she told me during one of our calls. I guess I just accepted it as normal. It felt good to be this special one. And I accepted being the overlooked one, I told her. It's what we knew. I'm sorry, Leo. I should have seen it. We were both kids. It wasn't our responsibility to see it. 1 year later, I am doing well in medical school. With the financial pressure gone, I've been able to reduce my job hours and concentrate on my academics. My grades have improved, and I've joined a few clubs, making new acquaintances. Dad has settled into his new life as a bachelor and appears happier than I've seen him in years. He comes to see me in New York every few months, and we've become closer than ever before. During his last visit, we talked for hours about his medical career, my studies, and our mutual love of science. I always knew you had the makings of a great doctor, he told me. But I'm even more proud of the person you're becoming. Chloe has undergone arguably the most unexpected shift. After first resenting the financial constraints, she has embraced her independence. She's still in fashion school, but she also works at the boutique, which has served as a good apprenticeship. She is currently designing her own small line, learning how to produce beautiful things on a budget. We communicate frequently, and for the first time, I feel as if I have a genuine relationship with my sister. My new designs show a maturity and practicality that was missing before, she proudly told me during one of our video sessions. He says constraints can be a designer's best friend. They force you to be creative in ways unlimited resources never would. Who knew budget limitations could be a good thing? It made me giggle. Certainly not the old me, she said. But I think I like the new me better. Mom has had the most difficult adjustment. The divorce left her with less than she planned, and she has had to relocate from our family home to a small condominium. She's still trying to accept her new reality and accuses Dad and me of turning Chloe against her. She started working part-time at a local department store, her first job in more than 20 years. And while she continually complains about it, I believe the structure and social interaction are beneficial to her. Her relationship with both of us is tense. She occasionally calls me, but our discussions are brief and perfunctory. She's still attempting to maintain the previous relationship with Chloe, proposing to send her money she doesn't have and suggesting Chloe return home so Mom can care for her. Chloe has learned to keep her limits in a gentle yet firm manner. During one of our video chats last week, Chloe showed me some of her most recent designs, which were lovely minimalist items that appeared costly but were made of low-cost materials. "I never would have learned to do this if I still had unlimited funds," she told me. Constraints breed creativity. "I guess you're really good at this," I told her, sincerely impressed. She smiled. "Thanks. And you're going to be a great doctor someday." She paused. "Are you going home for Christmas?" "To Dad's." "Yes." "You?" "Yes. And I thought maybe we could visit Mom together. She's having a hard time." I pondered it. Despite everything, she remained our mother. "Okay, I agreed. We'll go together." In the 2 years since that fateful holiday dinner, where the truth was revealed, our family has been entirely remade. The changes haven't been easy, but I believe they were necessary. Dad is happier and more involved as a parent. Chloe has discovered her inner strength and inventiveness. I found my footing in medical school, excelling intellectually and socially. Mom is still adjusting. Perhaps she always will be. However, our family's connections are now built on honesty rather than manipulation and favoritism. Family relationships can be complicated, and healing takes time. But as I've discovered, honesty, no matter how painful, is the first step towards something healthier. The truth about my mother's favoritism almost destroyed our family. But in its wake, we're creating something new, based on respect, justice, and genuine love, rather than manipulation and preferential treatment. It isn't perfect and never will be, but it is real. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm being recognized for who I am. Not just as the less favored child, but as Leo. I'm a medical student, a son, a brother, a person deserving of support and affection, just as I am. 3 years later, I never anticipated things to alter so dramatically. I am currently in my 4th year of medical school, near the top of my class and preparing for residency interviews. Dad has been my unwavering support throughout, calling weekly to check in and flying to New York for each major milestone. Last month, Chloe astonished everyone by launching her own independent fashion line in Paris. What startled me the most was seeing Dad sitting in the front row of the presentation, grinning with pride. After years of being Mom's project, she and Dad have established their own, authentic relationship. Her simple, functional, yet exquisite designs have caught the attention of various stores. She is making it on her own terms, without the endless subsidy she once had. As for Mom, the trip has not been easy. The divorce humbled her in ways neither of us imagined. Something changed last year when her department store elevated her to assistant manager. She called me one night sobbing. "I'm proud of you, Leo," she said, words I'd waited my entire life to hear. I was wrong. So wrong. Our relationship is still complicated, but we're working on it. She is currently in therapy, trying to figure out why she had such strong feelings for Chloe. Apparently, it stems from her youth as the overlooked sibling. She is finally learning to see both of her children clearly. The most unexpected event occurred 6 months ago when Dad met Maria, a pediatric nurse at his hospital. It's been wonderful to see him fall in love again at the age of 52. When he called to say he was proposing, I was overjoyed for him. This will be our first Christmas together as a family, with Dad and Maria, Chloe traveling in from Paris, Mom, yes, she is invited, and myself. It will not be ideal. Family never is. But it will be honest. Sometimes I think of the collapse that started it all. How something so horrible helped to heal our family's deep scars. I would never wish that experience on anyone, but I don't regret where it took us. Sometimes you have to fully disassemble something before you can reconstruct it. If you've ever felt like the overlooked child, or if your family dynamics have been reshaped by a painful truth, what did you learn about the true meaning of support and love? How did you find your path, and who showed up for you when you needed it most? Share your story in the comments below.